So yeah, it's true. My presentation style has been compared to an otter on crack. Hopefully that'll wake you up a little bit and give you a little bit of energy. My name is Robert Wagner. I'm Mr. Minion on the Twitters. I don't tweet a whole lot, but it's a great place to get a hold of me for comms and stuff like that if you got questions afterwards. Just a quick little introduction. So I've been about 20 years between IT and InfoSec. My first InfoSec job was third shift SOC at a financial in downtown Chicago. We ran a 24/7 SOC with 4 people and 1 floater. It was 12-hour shifts. There was less to do in that original SOC, but it was a great place to learn, and I'm glad I got the experience. I'm also a co-founder of Hack for Kids. It's a charity that teaches kids. Hey, thank you. It's a charity that teaches kids about internet safety, security, and ethics. We have a big conference in Chicago once a year, and then we also help out other hacker cons run their own kids track. So if you guys want to do a track here or anywhere else in the region, just let us know. We'll help you run a kids track there as well. I'm a co-organizer of BurbSec and BurbSecCon. We'll talk about what those things are in a little bit. The opinions here are either mine or especially those of other researchers. I've put together, a lot of good information from a lot of sources here for you guys, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of my company. My company would be an idiot if they disagreed with me on any of this, though, because it's great information. Many thanks to the many people I've learned from, including Mike Poor, Ed Scotus, Mubix, Dave Kennedy, Danny Harris, Ryan Kovar, Dave Harold, and others. They're all fantastic people. So my big claim to fame, though, is really the dog that I taught to ride motorcycle a few years back. For 14 years, he rode with me. He passed away a little while ago, but that is probably my best hack right there. Anybody that loves positive reinforcement conditioning, talk to me. And I hear it works well on kids, too, so we'll see. Anyway, I put this deck together ages ago, and it was when I was on the practitioner side, and I put it together because I ran into the problem that I think everybody runs into, right? It was always the same. There was never enough budget for security to buy everything they wanted, to hire everyone they wanted. It would drive me crazy. I'd be like, boss, we need this new thing. And they'd be like, yeah, well, budget this year's been spent. Come talk to us at the next budget cycle, and we'll see if we can fix the problem. Now, here in Winnipeg, because of a breach, there is one company that has all the budget they can stand, right? They have a blank check for security. You guys know who that is, right? Yeah, it's nobody. Nobody has a blank check for security, right? We all need a little help there. We need ways to fill in those gaps. So every time I went to a HackerCon, and someone would say, and they would have stopped me if they had just done this, or this particular thing would have solved this problem. I wrote it down, put it in my notebook, and I started finding that a lot of these things, if you go to a lot of cons, you've probably heard of them before, but many of them have been forgotten or people didn't realize or whatever. So I've been asked to kind of put together a defense on a budget kind of presentation for folks that were in the same position that I was in. So over and over again, as I watched high-performing teams, as I worked with other people and saw what they were doing at their companies, I saw that focusing on the primary security tool, the one that every company has, was what made those teams most effective. And what is the primary tool, the one that every company has? People. Yes, it's you, right? Not to call you guys tools. That's not what I'm going for here. But it is the most important thing. And honest to God, I mean, I saw the merger of 2 companies. They were in the retail supply kind of stuff. 2 companies, one had a team of 7, one had a team of 25. One focused on their people, one focused on the security tools that they bought. Guess which team did a hell of a lot better? Yeah, the small one. And it's because those guys were constantly teaching each other, challenging each other. They taught each other how to script, how to hack, whatever. So leveling your people up, that's key. Who here hates this Venn diagram? Yeah, right? This diagram sucks. And why? Because it never looks like this, right? We forget about process right off the frickin' bat. We forget about our people probably second. And usually we end up dumping things in technology instead, right? So what happens? What happens to this Venn diagram if everything's dumped in technology and you forget about your people and your process? Yeah, it looks like this. And this is a bad state for security. You do not want a Mickey Mouse organization as your security team. So how do we level up people? Let's talk about people, right? So I don't have to tell you guys, but one of the best ways is at a freaking hacker conference, right? Yeah. Who here loves SANS? I mean, I love SANS. It's a great organization. Fantastic, right? But we would constantly get the, well, 3 of you can go this year and 3 of you can go next, right? Yeah, because it's not cheap. SANS is awesome, but it's expensive. So in between, we would try and start going to HackerCons. And honestly, between being either free or very cheap, you can send your entire staff to several HackerCons for the price of 1 SANS class. And if you're not, if there are any managers in here, you're pissing your money away. Because, so if anybody minds the lighter swear words, please just say, hell yeah, I hate that shit. And okay, good, we're okay, all right. Managers are showing up at HackerCon, CISOs, higher tier managers, and it's because there's so much good information being shared. I know I don't have to convince this crowd, but it's worthwhile. The BurbSec community that I talked about in Chicago, now here in Winnipeg it's great, but if you're not from Winnipeg and you're in a city where there isn't one, we've come up with a 0 effort formula for putting on your own HackerCon. And in fact, we chastise each other if we put in too much effort. So the formula is pretty basic. We've gone to open mic instead of CFP. It's bring your own badge. We get a bar that pretty much lets us run it all on just what we can sell through concessions, which I think is the same here, right? I think that's the way they set it up as well. So if you want to chat about how to run your own 0 effort HackerCon in your neck of the woods, let me know. In addition, the BurbSec community itself is a great, great tool. It started up as the same thing with all the city secs. It started up starting in the mid-2000s. I know that Edmonton has YegSec. Has anybody been to YegSec out in Edmonton? So the idea is simple. Put together a regular meetup once a month that's unlike all the other ones. ISACA, ISSA, all that stuff is formal and it's lovely, but it doesn't allow people to information share like these meetups do. So for the price of a beer, I've learned so much from my red teaming friends, right? And first of all, I know that most of them are bored out of their freaking minds because there is no challenge out there. They're getting this in the same way over and over again. They don't have to vary their tactics. They fish in a little bit, drop a couple tools, domain admin by the end of the day, maybe by the end of the week at the most. So if that's how they're getting in, and this is for you blue teamers, if you don't know how they're getting in, go and drink beer with the frickin' red teamers and talk to them because they will tell you, and beer is a great way to get them to tell you too. It's a great lubricant for information, right? So, again, the formula is simple. If you don't have your own regular monthly meetup, find 3 people at least from 3 different organizations, put it up on meetup.com or whatever, and it's 3 people from 3 different organizations so that if you have a dumpster fire at one, there's always someone else that can show up. And the job of those 3 people is simple. You remind the bar that you're showing up that day, and then you make sure you say hi to all the new people that come. Making people feel welcome and comfortable is the key to the success of all of this. People come in, you're like, hey, you here for InfoSec or something like that? They come in, and the community just grows from there, and it's fantastic. In addition, start following some of the great sharers out on the internet. Who follows InfoSec Taylor Swift? Yeah, whoa, fantastic researcher, shares a lot. She is awesome. Her blog, Decent Security, has great information on hardened Windows, what to log on Windows, good stuff. In addition, another fantastic researcher. Both of these are out of Chicago. Hacks for Pancakes. Who knows Pancakes? Yeah, she used to be head of DFIR over at Motorola and freely shares how to make your own DFIR better. She's fantastic. So that's how to level ourselves up. How about those 4-letter words called users, right? So I got this from Ben 10. Ben's fabulous. You can see his whole video on this presentation from DerbyCon 2012, 2013, whenever the song Gangnam Style was popular because he used it in his video. Yeah, it's hilarious. Watch it. It's super funny. But to nutshell it, he said instead of showing people those god-awful videos, the ones you'd rather rub glass in your eyes than actually watch about security awareness, why not gamify it? Why not turn it into something fun for the users that'll make them learn, that'll make them pay attention? Again, concept was simple. Hey, company, we're going to have a security awareness competition. There's going to be security-related things. I'm not going to tell you what those things are. Maybe you should have watched the videos. But in any event, the first person that reports any one of those things, the first, when it shows up, gets like a $5 gift certificate to Tim Hortons. At the end of the week, I'm going to be keeping score. Whoever has the most points gets a $200 gift certificate. For the outlay of a couple $100, he had people by the middle of the week going at each other. They were They're like, "You're going down. I'm totally winning this competition." He had people reporting the CFO for not wearing their badge because it was against, right? Yeah, because it's against policy. Hey, that's a security thing. Somebody else reported a very strange black box outside of one of the side doors. It was rodent control box, but yeah. But the best part really happened about 15 minutes into his competition. He gets a call from a very excited woman. She's like, hey, I seen one of your things. And he says, what things? She's like, the security things, like you said, with the stuff and the things. And he's like, all right, we haven't started yet. What are you seeing? And she said, well, this thing keeps popping up on my computer that says, click here for authorization, something like this, I don't know. And after he removed his hand from his face, he said, how long have you been seeing this for? Oh, like 6 weeks now. Yeah. They had a real security incident 15 minutes into the competition. He turned his people into carbon-based intrusion detection sensors, and it was fabulous. Now, the one thing Ben doesn't know, so I've talked about this with other folks, and somebody came up to me once and they said, yeah, we tried this at our organization, and it worked great for the first couple of weeks. And I'm like, okay, and then what happened? They're like, well, some of our users got very overzealous, and they started downloading things like Nessus so that they could scan for vulnerabilities and report them to the organization, right? Now, what's the real problem with that story? What the hell are they doing being allowed to download Nessus and run it on the systems, right? But yeah, barring some overzealous users, this can be a very effective way to actually make your people get involved with security instead of just hating security. So highly recommend it. Thank you, Ben, for this one. All right, so Emmett. Who here has actually heard of Emmett? Yeah, so it's your Windows admins should know about it. It's designed to protect the memory of apps on systems that you deploy it on. Do not just install it and turn it on. It will break shit all over your network. It's terrible. But if you can tweak it, if you can get it running right, if you can get those apps that need to be protected running under it, usually probably on servers, I don't know how well it's going to work in the user space, it can do a pretty good job. Things like ROP chains will bypass it, yeah. People have mentioned, yeah, but it went end of life July 2018. True if you're completely on Win 10. I mean, completely, like everything. And what does every ATM in North America still frickin' run on? Yeah, X-frickin-P. Oh my God. So there's still plenty of places to leverage it. It will reduce the number of tools an attacker can use, and that's helpful. You will have to test. And in test, not in production, people. Test and test. Yeah, I know we don't have to tell you guys that, but for the IT admins, yeah, pass it along. Yeah. So why are passwords the bane of our existence still, right? This drives us more. This is our weakest link. This drives us crazy. Passwords are so effed up, right? And why? I mean, it's an easy problem to solve. The real solution here is what? It's two-factor multi-factor, right? Two-factor multi-factor solves a lot of evil. It stops a lot of attackers in their tracks. But it's not free, so I can't say it's a free thing you can use. There's an open source one called Authy. To date, I haven't met anyone who's deployed it at the enterprise level. Maybe you can leverage it a little bit for like your privileged users, admins, stuff like that. But yeah, not only do we not use our same password for banking and Twitter, how many folks think that they have maybe a domain admin that came up with a fantastic password? Like 24 characters, random string, took them 2 weeks to memorize it. And then when they went to go set up their Home Depot account and needed a secure password, they're like, oh yeah, yeah, not good. To explain all of this and why it's a problem, who's here has seen the XKCD cartoon? Yeah, why did it take a frickin' cartoon to explain to CISOs why this is bad, right? Why saying, oh, hey, take a word and replace a couple of letters with numbers is so crappy. So at this point, this cartoon's about 8 years old, roughly. So 8 years ago, it took about 3 days for a password cracking rig to break this. Most of my people that I know running GPU rigs to crack passwords are saying like minutes, maybe a couple hours tops. Whereas 8 years ago, something like a password phrase, something like Corrector's battery staple was far more powerful, far more entropy in this password. So 44 bits roughly, and 550 years to guess. And I'm being told still maybe a couple days tops for this, but that's okay, because you take this and throw in a couple extra special characters, a number, something like that, the entropy is going to skyrocket on this. So password phrases, until we can get something like two-factor in, will solve a lot of problems. In addition, KeePass is free. Maybe it's not for all your users. A lot of people that aren't really IT minded have a hard time with password vaults. But again, your privileged users, your admins should be able to handle it. I've had arguments with my red teaming friends. They're like, yeah, but if I hack into someone's system, if I fish onto an admin and he's running a vault, then I have all his passwords anyway because it's right there on the system. And I'm like, yeah, but if I sneak in with the smokers and I find their one password that's on a sticky note under their keyboard, I still have them. So this is all about risk mitigation and risk acceptance. Most people I know say password vault, certainly better than nothing, certainly better than a single password used throughout the entire organization. And if you can get your users using it for themselves as well to protect their own accounts, we're starting to turn them into, again, better security people. So, Java, yeah. Oh my freaking God. So who here still has Java 6 running somewhere in the organization? Yes. So for those of you that didn't raise your hands, either you're too embarrassed to say it, or even worse, you don't know. Because it is there. I guarantee you, if you're in an organization of any size whatsoever, it is there, lurking somewhere in the back office. And the reason is always the same. It's always because it is driving some mission-critical thing that makes the company all the money that they have. Somebody wrote it 10 years ago, the developer died, and no one knows how to fix it. Or they don't want to pay for it to be fixed, but usually they're dead. So we have to deal with old Java, and as we know, old Java, if it goes on the internet at all, you're done, you're owned already. So what a lot of people don't know is that every Java installation, every installation on a workstation has a user agent string. And you can block that Java user agent string at the proxy so that it doesn't talk to the internet, that the only thing it can talk to is that old-ass Java app that's running somewhere in the back office. Now, laptops are a problem, right? Laptops go outside the proxy. You're going to have to either backhaul those things, or you're going to have to do something like put in a GPO that says, when off the corporate network, Java doesn't run. Both of those would mitigate the mobile laptops and things like that. So stopping Java, don't let it talk, get rid of it eventually, but for now, this is a good mitigation. Yes. So this is a list of every executable extension that should be blocked at the gateway. And I want you guys to block each and every frickin' one of these. All of them. Seriously. Just do it. Now I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, but Robert, maybe I have some users that might need their .NWS extension or whatever the frick that is, right? To which I say, if Apple can tell us we can do without a headset jack and we're just going to deal with it, yeah, then we can tell our users that they don't get their extensions. Now, if there's going to be some exceptions. Have a really robust, really fast to enact exception policy. So when a few people that actually have a legit need for one of these asks for it, you can put it in place. Fine, we got you. It's these 8 people. They need this extension. Done. For everybody else, no more WMS for you, for frick's sake. So blueteamer.blogspot.com maintains this list. It's good stuff, and this will get rid of a lot of low-hanging fruit. This will stop a lot of bad shit coming into your environment. So antivirus, yeah, it's almost useless, right? It doesn't do a whole lot for us, but it's not completely useless. We can still leverage it for some things. Every major antivirus vendor out there pretty much allows you to leverage the tool to go scanning for indicators of compromise. So if you take this, stuff that's coming through your gateway like this, you drop that into Cuckoo or Yara or something like that, extract the IOCs, you can now use your AV to go looking for those things, because it's out there already anyway, right? Because of the auditors and compliance, you've got AV on just about everything. Why not leverage it? Now, could you do this with like your vuln scanner too? Absolutely, as long as your vuln scanner is authenticating to everything, right? If you're not doing authenticated scans, you should be doing, move to a different company because they're doing it wrong. But in addition, heuristics often turned off at a lot of organizations. I suspect because heuristics can be really noisy and it's going to make more work for the IT folks as they try to tweak that noise, but it can still find some things. You know, it was the first attempt to find malicious code without a signature. It can still be effective. It can still find stuff out there in your organization worth looking into. And then last but not least, so many of my red team friends have said, yeah, you know what, AV was running, it actually fired on me, I saw it in the logs, but nobody was checking. Nobody checked the logs to see if anything was going on. So simply having a way to alert on the AV might be effective. Good. Okay, so this next part, got a lot of these from Mubix, a lot of these from Mike Poor. The whole idea, for those of you not familiar, some people call them landmines, honey tokens, canaries. There's all sorts of different ways to refer to these, but the whole idea behind all of these is to trick the attacker into letting you know that they're there, without even knowing that you know that they're there. Maybe they know that you know, but by that time it doesn't matter because you've already got them. So concept is simple. The simplest one, something like a honey file. You get together with your IT admins, you put a hidden file in the golden image, you deploy it throughout the entire organization, whitelist it from everything that might touch that file, and then you alert on that one thing. It's not perfect, but it allows you to monitor the entire organization for untoward things happening out there without having to log the fricking world. Just one log. Now, some user drop into the command prompt and run in dir/s. That's going to fire that off for sure, but when's the last time you saw a user doing anything from the command line, right? I mean, it doesn't happen that much anymore. So great way to start. The second one's even better fidelity. You create you get your domain admins to create an account, and you call that account something like domain admin whatever. You trick the attackers into thinking you are the dumbest MCSE that's ever lived because you are going to put the password in the description itself. In the description of that account is going to be, oh, and the password is blah, 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 right? Attacker sees that and he's like, oh, these idiots, they're so owned. Yeah, but not so much. We're going to alert again on just this one little tiny thing. This account being used somewhere in the domain. If that happens, you've either got evil in the network or you've got someone that really wants to get to those cat videos that you've been blocking and they're trying to get domain admin. Right? Yeah, so make the login hour 0, put it in the admin group, very effective. But let's go a little more effective. They definitely got this one from Mike Poor. Are there any DBAs in the room? Oh, thank God, they're such prima donnas, right? We cannot put anything on their systems for monitoring, and it drives me crazy. So instead of, database access monitoring, all that stuff really expensive, but something like a honey table or a honey file, pretty cheap, pretty easy. You get together with one of the DBAs, maybe 2 at the most, so that you have a backup, and you create a hidden file, a hidden database or a hidden table. Call it something juicy, call it credit cards, call it something that someone would probably want to steal from your organization if you're working at pharma, call it formulary, whatever. And then simply alert on anybody touching that table or touching that database. If anybody, and you don't publish it in any schema, right? Nobody should know about it. You get anybody touching that, someone's either trying to steal your data or you have a DBA that needs to go back to remedial DBA school because they just did a select star from everything in your freaking environment, right? That's the only way that's getting hit. So good one there. And then this last one, I love this last one. Beautiful, beautiful in its simplicity. This is invoke run as. You can get it from GitHub. You deploy it with SCCM to all of your workstations and laptops. All it does is it loads a fake set of creds into memory so that something that tries to scrape creds out of memory, like Mimikatz or something like that, will grab that set of creds, alert simply on the use of that set of credentials, which is the credentials to nothing, right? And now this is not likely to get a false positive. If your users are downloading Mimikatz, you've got way bigger problems, yeah. So great way to catch more advanced attacks going on. Again, without having to really do a whole lot. Just, IT is going to have to work with you a little bit, but you should be able to at least social engineer them into that, right? Yeah. So a couple other quick ways to stop attackers in their tracks. Having a web form that requires users to log in just once a day when they first get to work. Log in, authenticate to the proxy. Sometimes, Mubix even suggested that some places might want to have users to go so far as asking the first user to go to a particular site for that day to allow that site. So a pop-up comes up and says, is it okay to go to the site? Doesn't matter if the user gets it right or wrong. It's just simply something that's going to stop some sort of automated script because it's not going to know how to answer, how to respond to this pop-up. In addition, there's a vulnerability in WPAD that allows for man-in-the-middling. These two simple null routes mitigate that issue, stop the man-in-the-middling. In addition, as part of this, I want you to disable NetBIOS. I know, it's just like the frickin' extensions, right? It's been there forever. You can't get rid of it, but it needs to be on your plan. Your security 5-year, 10, I don't care how many years it's going to take you, but it needs to be part of the plan. Getting rid of NetBIOS, period. It allows so much evil, right? For those of you that are red teamers, how easy does NetBIOS make your life when LANman hasn't been set up properly? And even if you're going to use a tool, say like Responder, who here's heard of Responder? Yeah, right? Great red team tool. It's one of the first ones they'll download. And if you're running NetBIOS, they'll fire that up, and it will listen for a NetBIOS broadcast, and as soon as it hears one, it goes, yes, that is me. Give me your hash. I'll take care of everything for you. It's all cool. It's great. In the meanwhile, if your password is frickin' summer 2019 or whatever, and yeah, you're dead. So get rid of NetBIOS. Seriously, it's got to go. Also disabling DNS on internal name servers for external namespace. Another good tactic to stop automated scripts and automated malware. Your internal name servers do not need to be doing forward lookups. Let the proxy do that. This great proxy that we're forcing people to authenticate once a day anyway, and make it harder for especially automated tools to resolve the things that they need to get to on the outside. More roadblocks. So, Catherine mentioned laps earlier. Guess what? I'm talking about it too. It's important. Who here's heard of laps? Yeah. Who here's using laps? Is it working pretty well for anybody that's using it? Shout out. Yeah, fantastic. This is something Microsoft did right. That's a really weird thing to say, right? But it works. So those who are not familiar with it, if you still have local admin, which is another problem, right? We need to get rid of that local admin like NetBIOS. But if you have a local admin out in the environment, it randomizes the local admin password for every system that has local admin, which stops an attacker from pivoting from one system to the next just using local admin. Really good mitigation. Highly recommend it if you've got local admin out there. And then this last one is great. It's just so simple. This is just a GPO. This is a GPO that says allow or disallow connections to this workstation or laptop from the network. Turn it off on everything. So IT people might need to connect to,
just the one quick thing on labs.
Yeah. Okay. What is the name of that DLL?
I don't know off by heart.
Okay, so he's saying that there's a special DLL you have to deploy to get it to work properly with laps.
And it also introduces the risk that any domain administrator has access to it because it's stored on the object in AD.
Okay, and it's also storing information on the object, so if you have an evil admin, you're leaving yourself open to that sort of attack. Is that right?
You can lock it down.
Okay. Fantastic, thank you for that. And then yes, so this GPO says deny access to the system from the network. If IT really needs to get to that system, they're freaking IT. They can flip the GPO to allow themselves remote access. But in the meantime, with this deployed, this stops some of the best attackers I know from moving laterally. They might get onto one machine, but they won't be able to get on the next one. They're going to have to fish their way in and keep pivoting that way or through some other means, right? I mean, if there's vulnerabilities out there, they can leverage those, whatever. But they can't just connect from one machine to another using living off the land tactics and scraping creds and things like that. But what about the logs, Robert? So I work for Splunk, so assumably I should have some good tips and tricks on logs, right? Sure. So we've got pass the hash, obviously on the decline, right? People are using other ways to get throughout the organization, but there's still a good search for pass the hash, whether it's been in use now or you could actually go historically and see if you've had that problem before. Pretty good fidelity on this one, easily Googleable. It's out there on the internet, and I mean, it's not like you need Splunk. You could frickin' do this with grep. It doesn't matter. So DNS is a great place to go looking for evil. Attackers tend to leave a lot of fingerprints in DNS. So if we wanted to simply just find unauthorized DNS within the network, these are 3 different searches. They're all the same thing. It's just depending on where you're getting your data from. Is it coming from bro/Zeek, or is it coming from packet capture like Stream? Or if you're tagging all of your log sources, you can use tag. In addition, finding DNS spoofing activity out on the network, another quick search for that. The second one, finding clients connecting to multiple DNS servers. One of my teammates came up with this one. This is great. This is clever because by default, how many DNS servers does any host know about? Yeah, only 2, right? I mean, you might have some interesting round robining of DNS, but other than that, if you've got hosts, and you could whitelist those, if you've got hosts connected to multiple DNS servers, that's someone doing something weird, right? That's not your systems or your users doing that. So another great way to just find indications of evil out on the network. Finding extremely long DNS queries, which could be indicative of what? Data exfiltration, right? 53 is wide open, and there's some quick and easy ways you can look for data exfil, either 2 standard deviations or 200 characters long. These aren't magic numbers, by the way, right? It's a place to start. You're gonna have to tweak it within your organization, but just simply looking for extraordinarily long queries in the organization can be indicative. And if you're getting a lot of extremely long DNS queries, I'd say almost 90% of the time that's gonna be data exfil of some sort. You might have some weird processes doing that, but it's not common. So entropy can also be used to look for usually command and control kind of things. So if there's a lot of entropy in the DNS query, it's often either a CDN, like Akamai, or it's going to be some sort of command and control channel. So you can measure Shannon entropy. Splunk has a free toolkit called the UI toolkit you can download. You can use other math kits as well that'll measure Shannon entropy. But this low score, and for Google.com, 2.6 is pretty low. If you see a longer random string like this, 4.28 is going to be the Shannon entropy of that string, which is extraordinarily high in entropy math. So simply measuring the entropy of your queries will give you something that looks like this as far as the search goes. We can start measuring the entropy. To filter out the CDNs, you're probably going to want to waitlist for the search something like the Alexa 5 million, 10 million, somewhere around there. That'll get rid of your CDNs and your legitimate websites, and it'll leave you something that looks more like this. So all of these really long random strings here that no human's ever going to type in, they're all popping entropy of like 4.4 and higher. I would find all of these suspect and want to figure out what the heck they were and what's actually being called out to over DNS. Oh yeah, so algorithms. Are there free fun we can have with algorithms? Machine learning's all the shit, right? Everybody wants to sell you their machine learning stuff. Yeah, you don't need to buy anything to get started. It's pretty easy. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. R is a good one. You can use SciPy along with Matplot library to do this as well. And Splunk has a free developer's license, and their machine learning toolkit can do it as well. You don't have to buy anything to start doing stuff with algorithms. algorithms, and it can be helpful. So to show you a great experiment we did, we went to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid. That's our sad excuse for free medical care for the US, right? Yeah. But the cool thing is you can come over here to research and statistics, and you can download a heck of a lot of data, because since it's government paid, there has to be records of it that are open to the public. So you can do things like download all of the prescriptions for Medicare and Medicaid patients from 2015. Now it's HIPAA, so it's anonymized. You don't know the name of the person that received the prescription, but you know pretty much everything else. You know who wrote it, where it was written, what it was written for, lots and lots of data to play with. And so we thought, well, let's see what we can find, just throwing some algorithms at it and looking for outliers. So we downloaded 2015's prescriptions, and we also filtered it out for just opioid prescriptions, thinking there might be something interesting there, right? And then this graph that you see is the result of just 2 algorithms being run. So the first algorithm is called PCA, and again, it's part of the Python Kit for Scientific Computing. You can easily leverage it. PCA, you use it, you say, hey, PCA, see all these fields, all these data points? I want you to take all of that data and reduce it down to numbers that basically indicate the 3 most significant. You don't have to tell me what those are, I don't care. Just reduce it down to X number. We chose 3 because you can plot 3 on a 3D graph. So this is the result of PCA here, and then you run those results into k-means, which is a clustering algorithm. So everything now ends up being, you know, Sesame Street math after that. Which of these things are not like the other? So you've got a nice cluster of prescriptions here, and then you've got these outliers. Now, I don't know why they're outliers at first, but if we start Googling, like Googling these providers, you'll find that John Couch here is in jail for 240 months for prescription fraud. Yeah. Now, how could you be leveraging this within your own organization, right? This is a great way to find, if you can solve one fraud problem, if your company does anything like web transactions, money, anything like that, we've even helped gaming companies find fraud, like people taking stolen credit cards, buying an account, selling that account to someone else for less than the account normally would, and all of that weirdness will show up like this. One of these other outliers, if we were to scroll a little further down, now John came up because he was writing a lot of prescriptions. That's why he was an outlier. Another doctor that's a bit further down ended up being an outlier because he was a pediatrician. And I don't know too many 2-year-olds that need OxyContin on a regular basis. Although every time I fly, I wish there was more doctors like this. So, and he wasn't giving the drugs to the kids, right? I mean, he was writing them for the kid, but mom or dad was the one actually taking the drugs. Also in jail for prescription fraud, by the way. So stuff like this is really useful, and you guys can leverage tons of free tools to find stuff. And I swear to God, you solve one fraud problem in your company, your budget's going up. I guarantee it. So it's a lot of good information that I've pulled together, hopefully for you. Hopefully you get to take at least one of these back home and try it. But put it to good use, because remember that only you can stop InfoSec dumpster fires. Thanks very much.